The baby shower was supposed to be a celebration. Pink and blue balloons floated against the ceiling of my sister-in-law Reagan's living room, and the smell of vanilla cake mixed with fresh flowers. I'd spent 2 hours that morning wrapping the perfect gift, a handmade quilt I'd been working on for months, each stitch sewn with love for Reagan's first baby. I should have known something was off when Randall barely looked at me during the drive over. 3 years of marriage, and I'd learned to read his moods like weather patterns. Today's forecast, stormy with a chance of humiliation. Remember, he'd said as we pulled into the driveway, my family has a particular sense of humor. Don't take everything so seriously. I'd heard that line before. It was his go-to excuse whenever his family crossed a line, which happened more often than I cared to admit. But I plastered on my best smile and walked in, determined to make this day about Reagan and her baby. The house was packed with Randall's enormous family, cousins, aunts, uncles, family friends who might as well have been blood. I was the only one who'd married in, the perpetual outsider in their tight-knit circle. His mother, Patricia, gave me her signature once over when I walked in, her eyes lingering on my dress like she was cataloging its flaws. "Cynthia," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "How colorful." I'd worn a simple sundress, nothing flashy, but in Patricia's world, anything that wasn't beige or navy was apparently a crime against fashion. I kissed her cheek anyway, the scent of her expensive perfume making my nose itch. Reagan was holding court in the center of the room, her pregnancy glow genuine as she opened gifts. I found a spot on the couch next to Randall's cousin Marie, who immediately scooted away like I had something contagious. The message was clear: you don't belong here. "So Cynthia," Reagan called out during a lull in the gift opening, "when are you and Randall going to give Mom some grandkids?" The room went quiet, all eyes turning to us. I felt Randall tense beside me. We'd been trying for a year, something only he and I knew. The fertility tests, the disappointment each month, the strain it was putting on our marriage. None of that was anyone's business. "We're taking our time," I said diplomatically, reaching for Randall's hand. He pulled it away. "Actually," Randall said, and I heard that tone in his voice, the one he used when he was about to say something he thought was hilarious. "With Cynthia, I'd rather stay childless." The words hung in the air like a slap. Someone gasped. Someone else tittered nervously. I felt the blood drain from my face as I turned to look at my husband, certain I'd misheard. "I mean," he continued, warming to his audience, "can you imagine? The kid would come out complaining about the delivery room temperature." The laughter started small, then grew. Reagan was cackling, holding her pregnant belly. Patricia covered her mouth with her hand, but I could see her shoulders shaking with mirth. Even Marie, who'd been silent beside me, was giggling. I sat there, frozen, my mind trying to process what was happening. This was my husband, the man who held me when I cried after negative pregnancy tests, the man who promised we were a team. And here he was, using our private pain as a punchline. "Oh, come on," Reagan chimed in, her voice bright with cruelty. She'd probably give birth to complaints and breastfeed them drama. The room exploded with laughter. Real, genuine, belly-aching laughter. At me. At the idea of me as a mother. At my very existence in their family. I stood up so fast the coffee table shook. My hands were trembling, and I could feel tears burning behind my eyes, but I'd be damned if I let them fall here. "Excuse me," I managed to say, my voice surprisingly steady. "Oh, don't be so sensitive," Randall said, reaching for my wrist. "It's just a joke." I yanked my arm away. "Is our marriage a joke to you too?" The laughter died instantly. Patricia stood up, her face shifting from amusement to disapproval, but not at her son. "Randall," she said quietly, but loud enough for everyone to hear, "control your wife. Control your wife." Like I was a misbehaving dog at a dinner party. Like I was property to be managed. Like I wasn't even a person worthy of basic respect. I looked around the room at all these faces, people I'd tried so hard to impress, to befriend, to love, people I'd cooked for, bought thoughtful Christmas gifts for, celebrated with, and I saw the truth clearly for the first time. I would never be one of them. I would always be the outsider, the punchline, the problem to be controlled. "I'm leaving," I announced to the room, my voice cutting through the awkward silence. "Cynthia, stop being dramatic," Randall said, and I could hear the embarrassment in his voice. Not embarrassment for what he'd said, but embarrassment that I was making a scene. "Dramatic?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You just told a room full of people you'd rather not have children with me. Your sister compared me to a dairy cow for complaints, and your mother just told you to control me like I'm some kind of pet. But I'm the dramatic one?" Reagan rolled her eyes. "God, you really can't take a joke, can you?" "A joke is funny," I shot back. "Cruelty dressed up as humor is just cruelty." I grabbed my purse and headed for the door. Randall followed me, catching my arm in the hallway. "You're embarrassing me," he hissed. "I'm embarrassing you?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You just humiliated me in front of your entire family. Because you make everything so difficult. They were just having fun, and you have to turn it into some big thing. This is why they don't like you." The words stung more than the laughter had. "They don't like me because you've never once stood up for me. Never once told them to stop. Never once acted like I'm your wife instead of an inconvenience you brought to family functions." "Don't be ridiculous," he said, but his grip on my arm tightened. "Let go of me," I said quietly. "Not until you calm down and come back inside." I looked him dead in the eyes. "Touch me again, And I'll make sure everyone in that room knows exactly what kind of man you are when we're alone. His hand dropped like I'd burned him. We'd never talked about the way he grabbed me when he was angry, the bruises I covered with concealer, the way he'd punch walls next to my head when I disagreed with him. It was our unspoken secret, but I was done keeping his secrets. I walked out of that house and didn't look back. My phone started buzzing before I even reached my car. The family group chat that I'd foolishly thought meant I was included. Now it was lighting up with messages about me. Drama queen Cynthia strikes again, Reagan. Someone needs to teach her how to take a joke, Cousin Marie. Randall, you have the patience of a saint, Aunt Linda. I sat in my car reading message after message, each one more cruel than the last. Then someone started sharing memes. Actual memes about me being too sensitive, about ruining family gatherings, about being a killjoy. By the time I got home, there were 47 messages in the group chat. I'd stopped reading after Reagan posted a gif of a woman crying with the caption Cynthia when someone breathes in her direction. Randall didn't come home that night, or the next morning. When he finally showed up Sunday evening, he acted like nothing had happened. Reagan's feeling bad about yesterday, he said, tossing his keys on the counter. She thinks you overreacted, but she's willing to move past it if you apologize. If I apologize? I stared at him, wondering if I was losing my mind. For what exactly? For making a scene. For ruining her baby shower. For once again making everything about you. I laughed. I couldn't help it. The absurdity of it all just hit me, and I laughed until tears streamed down my face. You think this is funny? Randall's face was getting red, that danger sign I'd learned to recognize. I think it's hilarious that you all spent an entire baby shower mocking me, but somehow I'm the one who ruined it. I think it's hilarious that your sister is willing to move past it like she's doing me a favor, but most of all, I think it's hilarious that you still think I'm going to apologize. You're my wife, he said, like that explained everything. You're supposed to support me, and you're my husband. You're supposed to protect me, defend me, love me. When did you last do any of those things? He slammed his hand on the counter. I've given you everything. A nice house, a good life, my family. Your family hates me. Because you don't try, you don't fit in, I don't let them walk all over me anymore. That's what changed. I used to smile and take it, and now I don't, and that threatens them. My phone buzzed. Another message in the group chat. Patricia this time. Randall, sweetheart, we're having dinner next Saturday. Bring Cynthia if she can behave herself. I showed him the message. Your mother thinks I need to behave myself. He barely glanced at it. Just apologize, Cynthia. Make this easier for everyone. Easier for everyone except me. God, you're exhausting, he said, rubbing his face. This is exactly what I was talking about at the shower. Everything is drama with you. That's when I made my decision. Not in a flash of anger, but in a moment of perfect clarity. I was done. Done trying to earn love that should have been freely given. Done being the butt of every joke. Done being told to shrink myself to make others comfortable. I spent the next week planning. I contacted a divorce lawyer, started looking for apartments, and began quietly packing things Randall wouldn't notice. My sister Anna was my lifeline, letting me cry on her couch and reminding me that I deserved better. You know what the worst part is? I told her one evening, wine glass in hand. I actually loved them. I wanted so badly to be part of their family. They never deserved you, Anna said firmly. And Randall? He's shown you who he is. Believe him. Meanwhile, the group chat continued its assault. They'd moved past memes to concerned messages about my mental health, suggesting I needed therapy for my anger issues and inability to connect with others. Randall's Aunt Carol even sent a link to an article about borderline personality disorder with the message. This reminded me of someone. Randall pretended everything was normal. He'd come home, eat the dinner I cooked, watch television, and go to bed without saying more than 10 words to me. But I noticed him texting constantly, and once I caught a glimpse of his screen. He was in another group chat, one without me, where they were discussing the Cynthia problem. Saturday arrived, the family dinner Patricia had mentioned. I dressed carefully, choosing a black dress that made me look sophisticated and put together. Randall seemed relieved I was coming. Thank you for being reasonable, he said as we drove to his parents' house. I'm always reasonable, I replied, my purse heavy with the envelope inside it. The entire family was there. 23 people crowded around Patricia's dining room table, with me strategically placed at the far end, as far from Patricia's position at the head as possible. The conversation flowed around me like I wasn't there until Patricia clinked her glass. Before we eat, she said, her voice carrying that false warmth she'd perfected, I think we should address the elephant in the room. Everyone turned to look at me. We're a family, Patricia continued, and families sometimes say things in jest that can be misunderstood. I think everyone should apologize for their part in last week's misunderstanding so we can move forward. Their part? I asked, my voice calm. What was my part exactly? Reagan sighed dramatically. Do you really need us to spell it out? You overreacted to a harmless joke. Actually, I said, pulling out my phone, I have a list. The room went silent. Let's see, I began, scrolling through my notes. Reagan, remember Christmas 2021? You told everyone I probably got Randall a calendar of all the ways he'd disappointed me that year. Everyone laughed. Or Thanksgiving last year, when you said my turkey was so dry, it was probably how I was in. I paused. Other areas of life. Reagan's face went red. Patricia, I continued, turning to my mother-in-law. Remember when you introduced me to your book club as Randall's current wife? Emphasis on current? Or when you told your sister I trapped Randall into marriage by pretending to be someone I'm not? I never. Patricia started. I was standing right behind you in the kitchen. You didn't know I was there. I turned to other family members. Marie. You once told a room full of people that you didn't understand what Randall saw in me besides desperation. Uncle Tom, you asked Randall if he'd kept my receipt in case he wanted to return me. The room was so quiet you could hear the clock ticking. And Randall, I said, finally looking at my husband, should I list all the times you've stood by and laughed? All the times you've added to the jokes? Or should I skip straight to last week when you told everyone you'd rather be childless than have kids with me? That was taken out of context, he muttered. What context makes that okay? I asked. Please, explain to everyone the context where it's acceptable to humiliate your wife about something you know is causing her pain. You're being dramatic again, Reagan said, but her voice lacked its usual bite. No, I said, standing up. Dramatic would be flipping this table. Dramatic would be screaming and crying and making the scene you all seem to think I'm always making. This is just truth. I reached into my purse and pulled out the envelope, sliding it across the table to Randall. What's this? He asked, though I could see in his eyes he already knew. Divorce papers. I just need you to sign them. The explosion was immediate. Everyone started talking at once. Patricia was shrieking about family values. Reagan was yelling that I was ungrateful. Uncle Tom was muttering about women these days. But I kept my eyes on Randall, whose face had gone from red to white to red again. You can't be serious, he said. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. Over a joke? Patricia screeched. You're divorcing my son over a joke? No, I said, gathering my purse. I'm divorcing him because he's a coward who chose his family's approval over his wife's dignity. I'm divorcing him because he'd rather see me hurt than risk standing up to any of you. I'm divorcing him because I've finally realized that I deserve someone who loves me enough to protect me, not someone who offers me up as entertainment. Reagan slammed her hand on the table. You're just jealous because you're not one of us. You'll never be one of us. I actually laughed. Thank God for that. I'd rather be alone than be one of you. I started walking toward the door, but Randall jumped up and blocked my path. You're not doing this, he said, his voice low and dangerous. You're not humiliating me like this. Humiliating you? I asked. Like how you humiliated me at the baby shower? Or is this different because it's happening to you? Move, I said simply. We're going to talk about this at home. No, we're not. I'm done talking. I'm done explaining. I'm done begging for basic respect. Move or I'll move you. His family was watching us like we were a television show. Not one of them said a word as Randall grabbed my upper arm, his fingers digging in hard enough to bruise. You're my wife, he growled. Not for much longer, I replied, then raised my voice. And if you don't let go of me right now, I'll call the police and tell them about every bruise you've ever left on me. The gasp from Patricia was theatrical. How dare you threaten my son? How dare he put his hands on me? I shot back, and Randall's grip loosened. I walked past him and toward the door. Behind me, I could hear the chaos resuming, Patricia consoling Randall, Reagan ranting about my ingratitude, various family members offering their unsolicited opinions about my character. You'll regret this, Cynthia, Randall shouted as I reached the door. You'll come crawling back when you realize what you've lost. I turned around one last time, looking at this family I'd tried so hard to belong to. The only thing I regret is wasting 3 years thinking any of you were worth it. The door slammed behind me with a satisfaction I'd never felt before. My phone started ringing before I even reached my car. Randall. I declined. It rang again. Patricia. Declined. Reagan. Declined. Then the text started rolling in. You're making a huge mistake. This is what happens when we welcome outsiders. Randall deserves better anyway. Gold digger, showing her true colors. I blocked every single one of them as I drove to Anna's house. She was waiting on the porch with a bottle of wine and open arms. How did it go? She asked. About as well as you'd expect when you serve divorce papers at a family dinner. That's my sister, she said proudly. Come on, I made your favorite pasta and we're going to celebrate you finally choosing yourself. The next 2 weeks were a whirlwind of harassment. Despite blocking Randall and his family on my phone, they found other ways to reach me. Emails to my work address. Messages through mutual friends. Patricia even showed up at my office, causing such a scene that security had to escort her out. You're destroying our family, she'd screamed as they led her away. Randall is heartbroken. My coworkers were shocked. They'd met Randall at company events, where he played the charming, devoted husband perfectly. Now they were seeing the other side of the story. I had no idea, my colleague Janet said, bringing me coffee after Patricia's dramatic exit. You always seemed so happy. I was good at pretending, I admitted. Too good. Randall tried a different tactic. He started sending flowers to my office with cards that said things like, please come home and we can work this out. Then came the jewelry. Expensive pieces I knew he couldn't afford without dipping into his savings. Each gift went straight into the trash. One evening, I was at Anna's house when there was a knock at the door. It was Randall, looking disheveled and holding a teddy bear. Of all things. Please, Cynthia, he said when Anna reluctantly let him speak to me at the door. I know I messed up. I know my family can be Difficult. But we can work through this. Difficult? I laughed. Your family is cruel, and you're worse because you enable them. I'll change, he promised. I'll stand up to them. I'll make them respect you. It's too late for that, Randall. You had 3 years to stand up for me. You chose not to. That tells me everything I need to know about our marriage. But I love you, he said. And for a moment, he almost sounded sincere. No, you don't, I said simply. You love having someone to come home to. You love having someone to cook your meals and wash your clothes. You love having someone to blame when your family needs a target. But you don't love me. If you did, last week never would have happened. His face changed then, the mask slipping. You're going to regret this. No one else will put up with you. I'd rather be alone than be with someone who treats me like you do. You're nothing without me, he snarled. You're nothing without my family. Then being nothing sounds pretty good, I said, and closed the door in his face. The divorce proceedings were brutal. Randall fought me on everything, from who got the coffee maker to who kept the wedding photos. Why he wanted those, I'll never understand. His family rallied around him, even starting a smear campaign on social media about how I was a gold digger who'd taken advantage of their sweet, innocent Randall. The irony wasn't lost on me. We'd lived modestly, I'd always worked, and I was asking for nothing except my freedom. But the truth didn't matter to them. It never had. Reagan was the worst. She created a fake Instagram account just to send me messages about how I'd ruined Randall's life, how he was depressed and drinking because of me, how their mother cried every night about the daughter-in-law who'd betrayed them. I documented everything for my lawyer, the harassment, the threats, the attempts to interfere with my work. It all became evidence of why I needed this divorce. 3 months after that dinner, we finally had our court date. Randall showed up with his entire family in tow, like this was some kind of spectator sport. I came with Anna and my lawyer. When the judge reviewed the evidence of harassment and saw the documented bruises from Randall's grabs, things moved quickly in my favor. The divorce was granted, and I was given a restraining order against Patricia after her office incident. As we left the courthouse, Randall called out one last time. You'll never find anyone else. You'll die alone. Anna grabbed my hand before I could respond. Don't, she whispered. He's not worth it. She was right. He wasn't worth another word, another thought, another moment of my life. We went to my new apartment, a small but sunny one-bedroom that was entirely mine. Anna had helped me decorate it with bright colors and plants, everything Patricia would have hated. How do you feel? Anna asked as we opened a bottle of champagne. Free, I said, and meant it. For the first time in 3 years, I feel free. That night, Anna surprised me with a cake. She'd had it specially made, and when she revealed it, I burst into tears laughing. It read, "Congratulations on your divorce," in bright pink frosting, with little fondant figures of a woman breaking free from chains. Too much? She asked, grinning. It's perfect, I said, hugging her. Absolutely perfect. It's been 6 months since the divorce was finalized. 6 months of peace, growth, and rediscovering who I am without the constant weight of judgment and cruelty. I've thrown myself into my work and got promoted to a position Randall always said was too ambitious for me. I've taken up pottery, something Patricia once mocked me for wanting to try. I've made new friends who actually like me for who I am, not in spite of it. The flying monkeys still occasionally appear. Last week, I ran into Marie at the grocery store. She tried to tell me how badly Randall was doing, how he missed me, how his family realized they might have been a bit harsh. That's nice, I said, and continued shopping for my avocados. Don't you care? She called after me. Not even a little bit, I replied without turning around. The truth is, I've learned that the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. And I've reached a place of complete indifference toward Randall and his family. They're characters in a story I've finished reading, nothing more. I've also started dating again. Nothing serious yet, but I've been on a few dates with a man named Marcus who actually laughs at my jokes instead of making me the joke. Who introduces me to his friends with pride, not apologies. Who told his mother about me, and her first response was, "She sounds wonderful. When can I meet her?" But the biggest change isn't in my relationships with others. It's in my relationship with myself. I no longer apologize for taking up space. I don't shrink myself to make others comfortable. I don't accept disrespect disguised as humor. Last week was Reagan's baby's first birthday. I know because a mutual acquaintance mentioned seeing pictures on Facebook. Apparently, Randall has a new girlfriend, some young thing fresh out of college who, according to the gossip, fits in so much better with the family. I feel sorry for her. I hope she's stronger than I was, or that she gets out faster than I did. But that's not my problem anymore. Today, I'm sitting in my sunny apartment, my cat Minerva. Yes, I got a cat. Something Randall was allergic to despite never showing symptoms purring in my lap. Anna's coming over later for our weekly wine and movie night. Tomorrow, I have a second date with Marcus. Life isn't perfect. I still have moments where I wonder if I was too harsh, if I should have tried harder, if I threw away something salvageable. But then I remember that moment at the baby shower, the laughter echoing around me, my husband's voice saying he'd rather be childless than have children with me. And I remember that I didn't throw anything away. I picked up my self-respect from where I'd left it at Patricia's doorstep 3 years ago. I reclaimed my dignity from Reagan's cruel jokes. I took back my power from Randall's controlling hands. Some people might say I overreacted, that I should have communicated better, tried harder, been more understanding. Those people have never been the family joke. They've never been told to be controlled. They've never had their pain turned into a punchline. I didn't overreact. I finally reacted appropriately to years of mistreatment. I finally stood up and said no more. I finally chose myself. And that choice? It's the best decision I've ever made. Randall will always tell people I'm the crazy ex-wife who couldn't take a joke. His family will always paint me as the outsider who tried to tear them apart. The story they tell will never be the truth. But I know the truth. Anna knows the truth. And most importantly, I'm finally living my truth. I'm Cynthia. I'm nobody's punchline. I'm nobody's property to control. I'm nobody's emotional punching bag. I'm free. I'm respected. I'm happy. And that's not a joke, that's my life.